What is up, everyone? Last week, we paid up for running backs, and they killed us. Is it time to go right back to them this week? A couple of them are in some smash spots, and they're under owned this week. Let's work through it together on Fanduel right after this.
Tell them to bring me my money.
Welcome into the Rumbles of Red. Thank you all for being here tonight. How'd you do last week? How did week 2 treat you in DFS? Did you win some money? Did you hit it big? I want to hear from you all night long. Let me know there in the comments. And while you're letting me know that, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel on our way to 100 subscriptions by the end of the NFL season. Help me out. Hit the like button. Go ahead and subscribe. We're here every Friday night at 8:15 Central. We're just hanging out, having a beer, talking some DFS. And what are we going to talk about? Well, here we go. Review my week 2 main lineup here. I tell you every week I enter a $50 tournament. It didn't go great this week again, but that's okay. We're looking for that bink. We're looking for that number 1 spot. We're going to hit it one of these weeks. We'll go position by position. What studs are out there? Again, can we pay up for running back? Or is it not going to work out again like it did last week? I mean, Saquon Barkley, Christian McCaffrey, spending up so much money for these guys, and they really let you down. And is it time to go back to the well, or should we go with a cheaper option? We'll talk through that, talk through some stacking options, what teams are out there that we want to really look at. Couple games over 50 this week. We got the stud quarterbacks back on the main slate this week. How's that going to look in our stacks? And then, of course, we'll build some lineups as we do every week. So go ahead and jump in that chat as I pull up our last week's main lineup. Probably should have it already pulled up, but that's all right. Look, last week, I had a Lamar stack, so that went pretty well. It wasn't in the main one, unfortunately, but it was in one of my $5 tournaments that I play every week. Had a Lamar, Rashad Bateman, talking Christian Watson later. Rashad Bateman with the Jalen Waddle bring back, so that worked out pretty well. Nope. But in this one here, my main one, get a little bigger for you here. I late swapped to Marcus Mariota because Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, I'm telling you, we paid up big last week, 15% here. I don't mind that at all, especially for a guy like Jonathan Taylor who can break the slate very easily. 24% Christian McCaffrey was a little higher than I expected it to come in at. These smaller field tournaments usually do condense down the ownership a little bit. I just wasn't expecting that much there. As you go through here, you'll see I definitely late swapped quite a bit. Marcus Mariota to Drake London. I think I had London in my original one anyways, but I went to Jamar Chase, a guy who was, and I assumed was going to be very low rostered, and he's got slate breaking ability. And what are you going to do in that situation? So I'm trying to get weird because Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor don't do anything. I go to Tony Pollard. What a smash play. Honestly, at 1% here, 17.8 paid off quite a bit. Unfortunately, my team was dead to the water. I think I was in 90th place at one point in time before the afternoon games hit. Crawled my way back up to 43rd, but not quite enough to get into the winning position, even if I could have. I mean, look at this. We're still a good 21 points off. So the late swap in this instance helped me. I did surpass a lot of people, which is what I was trying to do. Unfortunately, it didn't get me far enough. But that's what we're here for. We're here to learn from that mistake. We're here to decide whether or not we're going back to those same running backs this week. And how do we get better? How do we get better each and every week? I'll show you this one last one. Last week was hard. We had a baseball game at 3:00. So my late swaps, I had to do it like 1:45 in the afternoon. That's a little early for a late swap. I really want to try to do it about 2:45 or so. But I got stuck doing it a little bit earlier than I wanted to, which really is why I didn't late swap this one I'm going to show you here. Because I had Lamar. I have Mark Andrews. I think I said Bateman earlier. I had Lamar. I had Andrews. I brought it back with Waddle. At the time, Waddle was fine. Tyreek Hill hadn't scored 2 touchdowns yet when I go in to look at my late swaps. I had a little Christian Kirk, Ashton Doolin mini stack, which was doing awesome. Look at this, 16% together, pulling in 32 points. I'm loving what I'm seeing here. And so I rolled with the chalk in the afternoon in Devontae Adams and Darrell Henderson. Again, when I left, Nick Chubb hadn't scored 3 touchdowns. The Miami offense hadn't just blown up, right? So it's tough sledding. Had to leave a little early. I think once I saw Miami come back and once Chubb hit that 3rd touchdown, I definitely would have swapped at least off of Darrell Henderson. I mean, honestly, I probably wouldn't have swapped off Devontae Adams. I thought he was just in a smash spot against Arizona Cardinals. Unfortunately, he doesn't pay off like he did. And I played the chalk defense in Cincinnati Bengals, who didn't pay off either. Really sharp start here. I loved this little mini stack with Ashton Doolin and Christian Kirk. Very low rostered. Kind of a dart throw-esque, and it paid off. Unfortunately, I just couldn't put the last 4 pieces together to really hit it big. Got 22nd here. And you see here, I'm still way behind the 207 that this guy put together behind Tua. 3 touchdowns from Nick Chubb. The premium double stack in Miami with the Rashad Bateman bring back. What a sharp play. What a sharp play. Let's get into this week's though. We'll start with quarterback. Who's your favorite quarterback of the week? Who are you going to this week? Who's your favorite quarterback? Let me know in the comments. I want to see it. Who is your favorite quarterback of the week? Also, shout out to my boy, Chris. Thanks for the subscription. I appreciate that. All right, who's your favorite quarterback here? Throw them in the comments for me. Let's talk this out together. I'm going to talk first about Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 9,000. Jalen Hurts, 8,100. These 2 guys are your run-of-the-mill. Oh, man. What's up, little man? Apparently it's not past bedtime yet. Thanks for being here. Patrick Mahomes is definitely all of our favorites around these parts. I love it. Let me talk about Josh Allen and Jalen Hurts, though. These are your cash quarterbacks. Everybody's going to play them. They're the 2 hottest quarterbacks in the game currently, right? Josh Allen's 9,000, the most expensive quarterback on the slate. He's going to pull probably 20% ownership in your tournaments. Hurts, on the other hand, he's the 5th highest scored or highest priced quarterback. A little bit stunning to me. I'd really think that he's probably should be up in the 85, 8,600 range. He's sitting here at 8,100. That's going to push him up. These small field tournaments, I could see Hurts condensed down to about 30%, which means I'm probably going to try to avoid these guys mostly, but it's really hard to because they're both locks in the cash game. If you're playing a cash game, you got to get one of these 2 guys in your lineup this week. They're in great spots. I just don't want to play them due to how rostered they're going to be. How can I get contrarian this week and avoid these guys while everybody else plays them? Because there's still ways they can run bad, right? Maybe Miles Sanders finally gets in the end zone a couple times. Maybe Devin Singletary and Zach Moss vulture all the touchdowns in Buffalo. Not saying Jalen Hurts and Josh Allen are going to play bad, but maybe they don't pay off at the price point that they're at. That's what I'm looking for in tournaments this week. All right, who you guys got here? We got a Tua. If we want to chase Tua, 7,300, it's not hard to chase him. Throw in some of those stacks again. Gesicki looked fine again last week. I personally am not going to be chasing that in daily this week. I think he'll kind of bring quite a bit of of ownership, especially after last week. People looking at that box score, seeing the points he put up. Derek Carr versus the Titans. Yeah, welcome in. This looks like a new viewer, so welcome in. Thanks for being here, man, or woman. Derek Carr versus the Titans. The only issue right now for me is, can the Titans do anything on offense? They looked super inept last week. If they can do anything on offense to push Derek Carr, I think that's a great spot for Derek Carr. Devontae Adams off of a bad game. Does he rebound this week? We'll see there. Joe Burrow comeback game. I've talked about it week 1. It's so hard not to just play Joe Burrow double stacks every week. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Burrow, throw them in, see if it hits one week. It's going to hit, 4 times out of the year at least, right? So if you have that opportunity, take it. Take a shot, put him in there. I'm double stacking him for sure. Hayden Hurst, I talked about that a little bit on our season-long podcast for my streaming tight end of the week. I like Hayden Hurst a lot this week. So double stack Joe Burrow and give him a shot. Give him a shot. Cousins going to crap all over Detroit. JJ goes for 150. All right. So JJ for 150 feels great. I don't mind that. Detroit's a pretty bad defense. We like to take on Detroit and pick on them each and every week. And Kirk Cousins isn't on primetime this week, right? So he ought to have a good game. And Ryan Tanny ruined my parlay last week. Yeah, some parlays would run last night too on the Thursday night game when the Steelers fumbled the ball and let the Browns cover. I know Fanduel had a boost on that was like +7.5 was a part of that parlay. It was the last one that needed to happen. Steelers were sitting pretty, and then they fumbled that. That was a terrible situation there. We talked about Kirk Cousins a little bit, 7,600. He's going to be the popular cheap play on the slate. So if you're not willing to pay up for a Josh Allen or a Jalen Hurts, you're trying to save a little bit of salary here, Kirk Cousins is going to be the popular play. He's projecting pretty solid, especially when you're looking at points per dollar. And I think he'll probably be one of the top rostered quarterbacks on Sunday. My favorite cheap play. This is gross, guys. This is gross. Stick with me here. I'm gonna look at the viewers and see how many drop off after I say the words Justin Fields. Please stay here. I promise you, I've got some very good content. But honestly, Justin Fields is in a good spot this week against the Houston Texans. He is my favorite punt quarterback in the week. If you're looking to get off of those stud quarterbacks you want to pay up at running back and wide receiver this week, Justin Fields could be a serviceable, usable daily quarterback this week. Houston, a terrible defense. I think with the run game here, David Montgomery's in a good spot. I look for Justin Fields to use his legs a little bit more often. I know what Dan said on Wednesday when we were recording, he threw like 11 passes. I hadn't looked at that, but that doesn't feel good. But I think his rushing ability and this poor Houston Texans defense and a super cheap price tag with very low rostered, he's coming in at 2% projected right now. Not a terrible play. I think there's worse plays out there. If you're really just looking to get weird at quarterback, I like Justin Fields down at 7,000. I think it's a good question. Let me hit this question before we move on to our running backs. What is one position where you can go cheap in DFS? What one position is a must go big? So, I think that honestly, it's week to week. You really have to study the slate a little bit. Injuries flip the slate every single week. Matchups flip the slate every single week. Lamar was one of my favorite plays last week. I'm willing to pay up for Lamar against that Miami defense. This week against New England, man, I could see that game just being mucked up and I don't know, 17-13, 21-20. It just doesn't feel like a really good game environment. So I'm not willing to pay up for somebody like that. So it really does go slate to slate. That's why every week I try to come in here. I try to give you what are the guys at the top of the salary range I like, but also where's some value there? Where can you find a little bit of salary savings at every position because you really can mix and match there. Now, I think if you're playing a cash game, especially this week, it's Hurts or it's Allen. Like you're paying up at quarterback and you're going to find it elsewhere. I also think that running back is usually the place you can find the best value because on occasion when a starting running back gets hurt, the backup running back is sitting down at 51, 5,200. You can slide him right in. So is 30% of the rest of the field, but you can slide him in and save a little cash there. I'm always going to try to get some stud wide receivers over stud running backs. But again, it's just really slate to slate. Are there a lot of high totals on the slate? Remember week 1, we had one game over 50 points. You're not looking at a ton of stud wide receivers at that point in time. It was a better time to pay up at running back. So it really does go slate to slate there for us. Let's talk running backs here. Stay active in the chat. I love how it was flowing so much there with the quarterbacks. Let's talk running backs. Who's your favorite running back? Are you paying up to the top? Or are you going to go mid-tier here with the running backs? Last week I went CMC, Johnny Taylor. They killed me, man. Didn't go well at all. And now this week, we're sitting at Jonathan Taylor. Pull this up for you. We're sitting at Jonathan Taylor up here at the top of the range. Oh, come on. There we go. $9,400. Derrick Henry at $8,800. Right? And Austin Eckler up here at $8,700. These are your top 3 priced running backs. All 3 of these guys are under, an average of 2 for their points per dollar. So they're not doubling. They're not projecting to double their salary. And a lot of that's because they're so expensive. And they're all 3 projecting for sub 10% ownership. So this is why the title of this week is the title of this week, right? Can we pay up for one of these studs? And if so, which one do you trust? Do you trust any of these top 3 here? I don't really mind taking a shot on all 3 of them, but I do think it's going to be hard to pay up for quarterback and pay this high for running back. The next 3 guys on the list here, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Joe Mixon. This range is going to be highly rostered this week. The projections are really loving these 3 guys. If that's the way you're going to go, that's the way you're going to go. For me, again, I'm going to try to take shots here and there, but I don't know how much of these 3 I'm even going to go after just because they're over like 20, 25%. And can you go 23% rostered CMC? I liked him last week so much because I expected him to be low. He came in at 23%. Once I flipped those cards over, I don't like that play anymore. For me, out of all 6 of these guys, all things considered, if I'm looking at projections and I'm looking at projected ownership here, I want to go Austin Eckler. In a really good game environment against a bad Jaguars defense, he's 8,700. He should be rostered in sub 10% of the leagues, because he is that top tier price where nobody wants to get up there right now. Herbert has this rib injury that he's got it going on. Even if he plays, he could be just dump off city to Austin Eckler against a really, look, the Colts, the Jags are not that great a defense. Okay. There's other things going on in Indianapolis there. I don't trust Jacksonville's defense, and I do trust Justin Herbert, rib injury or not. I like to take a shot here on Austin Eckler. A little Austin Eckler, Christian Kirk mini stack feels pretty good for me if I'm trying to get a little piece of this Jaguars Indianapolis Colts game. We got Clyde in here. We always like Clyde. Clyde's a great leverage play this week, especially against those, if Mahomes is going to see any type of ownership, Clyde's always a good leverage off of that. And David Montgomery, he's in a smash spot. Anytime you play the Houston Texans, you're in a smash spot. We just talked about it earlier. Justin Fields threw it 11 times last week. David Montgomery, he feasts in games like this. I like that a lot. I do think he's going to carry some ownership. So if you're playing him, you just want to get a little bit contrarian elsewhere. Yeah, it looks like he's 5th right now, above 20%, at least in the projections I look at. So just know that he's going to be one of the top owned running backs. If so, that's great. Get weird somewhere else and take the smash points from David Montgomery. Don't mind that at all. A play I really like this week, if he does play, is still questionable right now, is Alvin Kamara. His price drops down to $7K this week on Fanduel, but he still possesses a slate breaking ability, right? This guy can take 2 passes to the house and all of a sudden just break the slate. And at $7K, why not? It's a juicy matchup against Carolina Panthers. I really think that it's going to come down to what his health is on Sunday morning. So don't just blindly put him in your lineup right now, but monitor the news. And if he's healthy and he's in, I like Alvin Kamara at 7K. This is great timing here. Peace out, Pat. Damian Harris could be a sneaky play. I agree with you, but I'm gonna go with the opposite side of Damian Harris on his same team. You know, Damian Harris got the touchdowns. He got the box score last week, but Ramondre Stevenson got 62% of the snaps. And at 5,400, 5%, maybe lower rostered in your contest, this guy's going to go off at some point in time. He has the ability. He is a very skilled running back, catches the ball very well. Damian Harris caught a few passes last week. I think they both caught 2, if I'm remembering right. But Stevenson has that ability, and I just don't think they've opened it up enough and allowed that. Now, look, they're going to be playing from behind against the Baltimore Ravens, a Ravens defense that can clearly be picked on a little bit down the field, but Mac Jones isn't necessarily that down the field passer. Look for Stevenson to play 60% of the snaps again and potentially, take 4 or 5 catches from Mac Jones, dumping it off this week. Couple swing outs there. And I don't really mind taking shots on guys like this. A cheap running back who's going to get volume. He's playing, right? 62% of snaps last week. So he's on the field and nobody else is going to be playing him in your contest. I like to take shots at guys like that. I like to be contrarian in that sense. And so if you have that opportunity and you have the stones to play a 5,400 Ramondre Stevenson, join me, man. Let's do that. Let's do that. Absolutely. I was going to say either one of them for sure. 100% agree. Honestly, I like Stevenson because of the price it cost me. It doesn't cost me near as much. But I do agree also here. Harris is definitely the safer play. In a small field tournament, though, I don't want to go safe too much, man. Let's swing for the fences. And if it fails, there's always next week. Want to talk about a couple more. Leonard Fournette is projecting as the best running back. The volume's there. He's on the injury report all week long. I did see Chris Godwin's out again this week. They don't really have anybody else there in Tampa Bay, so the volume's going to be there. That he's going to carry these small field tournaments. That the big tournament I play in has 112 people in it. He probably brings 35% potentially. He is projected to be the highest rostered running back on the week. Joe Mixon is projecting very well against the New York Jets because, well, it's the New York Jets. We like to pick on the New York Jets just like we like to pick on the Detroit Lions. So if you like Joe Mixon, put him in there. I kind of like, somebody mentioned earlier, Joe Burrow. I like that contrarian play a little bit better this week than Joe Mixon, especially if I'm looking at some of these rosters. Christian McCaffrey, I talked about, he's up here. Josh Jacobs, he's projecting fairly well here in a points per dollar standpoint, 6,500 against the Tennessee Titans. And of course, the chalk donkey of them all, Dameon Pierce. After a bad week 1, he's not rostered last week. He comes out and he does well last week. So now everybody's back on him again this week. He's a cash play only for me. If you're playing cash, he's going to save you some salary there at 5,800. Definitely worth a shot. All right, let's jump right into it. Let's keep rolling. I want to get some lineups built tonight. So let's keep it rolling. Let's get right into some wide receivers. So let's talk wide receivers. Who do you like this week? Who's your favorite? You going up to like Cooper Kupp against the Rams? Who's your favorite wide receiver this week? Michael Pittman should be back out there again this week. Christian Kirk's played great the first 2 weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown smashed last week. He was the guy you needed last week, especially in cash games. Who are you going to this week? Who are you going to this week? A guy that I'll probably play quite a bit is Stephon Diggs. $8,300. Now, so you all know, if you don't already, the pricing comes out before the Monday Night Football game. After that 3-touchdown game, he's probably, if that happens on Sunday afternoon, probably 9,400, 9,200, somewhere in there. Instead, we're going to get him at 8,300 here. He's going to be the chalk of the week because he is so cheap. So rightfully so, he'll be the chalk. Let me pull up our wide receivers here. He'll be the chalk, but look, he's 1,500 less. Right? Cooper Kupp's up here at 9,800. You can scroll down. He's after Devontae, after JJ, after Chase, after Hill. Then you find Stephon Diggs at 8,300, $1,200 less than Justin Jefferson. He's way too cheap on Fanduel. I think everybody's going to try to jam him in here. Understandably so. We just saw Miami, go off on the Baltimore Ravens last week. So now, the public, everyone's feeling really good about the Dolphins. Obviously, the Bills on primetime, 3 touchdowns to Steph Diggs. Everybody's going to be jamming Steph Diggs here. I'm not going to jam him in every lineup. I will have a lineup here and there with him. And for me, if you could get like a Steph Diggs, Jalen Waddle mini stack here, so you get a piece of this game. I don't want to go all out in this game. I do think Buffalo's defense is much better than the defense that the Miami Dolphins saw last week with Baltimore. Not to say they can't push them a little bit, but I do believe a lot more in Buffalo's defense. And so I don't know that this is going to shoot out as the Baltimore-Miami game did last week, but I do want some pieces here. I think a Diggs Hill, that's pretty expensive. Jalen Waddle has the same box score as Tyreek Hill last week, and he's still $900 cheaper. I like a Diggs Waddle mini stack there for the Miami-Buffalo game. We got to at least talk Cooper Kupp here. Look, 9,800 is stupid expensive, but the guy's name is Cooper Kupp. He's breaking all sorts of records, and he continues the hot streak this year. And now he goes up against the Arizona Cardinals, a defense that we have already targeted multiple weeks in a row. Devontae Adams has a bad week last week. I'm throwing that out the window. I think that the Los Angeles Rams know how to beat this Cardinals team, and I think they're going to go to Kupp early and often. I really like a Stafford Kupp Higbee double stack this week against this porous Cardinals defense. Look to get some Cooper Kupp in your lineups when you can. Again, you're not going to be able to necessarily pay up for the high price running backs and Cooper Kupp, but find some value within your lineup and see if you can't get Cooper Kupp in there a little bit. He is the highest projected wide receiver on the slate. And then the last one here that I want to talk about is saving some money is right here. Our hometown favorites, Juju and Marquez Valdes-Scantling. 6,100, 5,600. Don't give me any of this Mecole Hardman junk. He is not good at football. Hashtag not good. I mean, I'm not playing him ever. Juju, I'm going back to the well this week. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, if you need to save the $500 from Juju, I don't mind him either. Again, maybe you just want a little piece of this game. You get a little Michael Pittman, Marquette MVS kind of double or mini stack there. Don't hate that at all. If you love Jonathan Taylor, if you love him against the Chiefs, all right, fire him up. Low owned, right? Bring him back with one of these Chiefs wide receivers. I like them. Mahomes in a dome is never a bad thing, guys. It's never a bad thing to play him in a dome. Let's see. We got Garrett Wilson. Man, broke out last week. Let's go. These rookies. Man, the rookies. Look, here we go. Here's another one. Drake London. These rookies showed out. I loved it. Like to see it. Hopefully that continues. Oh, I want to get weird with a Drake London, like Marcus Mariota against. I just can't do it. But I don't mind any of these guys in Atlanta as one-offs this week. I can't really get myself to come, bring anybody back from Seattle this week, but I don't mind like a Drake London one-off, especially in the afternoon. Maybe you pivot to him. He's going to be, rostered a lot less than everybody else. And Garrett Wilson as a Cincinnati bring back. We talked about a Joe Burrow double stacker earlier. Bring him back with Garrett Wilson and tee it up, man. Maybe you don't want to go that way. Maybe you like Joe Mixon. You want to go the more chalk route. Okay. You could still, mini stack that with Garrett Wilson. I don't mind that at all. Either of the Dolphin duo trying to play catch up with Buffalo. Absolutely. They both have slate breaking ability, but I do believe in this Buffalo defense quite a bit. I think that they are for real this year. I think they went out and got the right pieces this offseason. I like them a lot. They have gotten tremendous pressure up front, which is definitely going to be different than what Tua saw last week against the Ravens. But again, when they're playing catch up, as you mentioned here, throwing a lot, you're going to get some garbage time there. I think if that's the case, you're playing one of them. I don't think a Tua double stack is going to be the right play this week, just because it was last week. I like the Juju MVS stack for sure. I don't know if I want to play them together necessarily. If I'm going to play that Mahomes double stack, I got to get Kelsey in there. But playing one of these two, if you play them both, you're saving a ton of salary. That's for sure. Thielen, a great play. That my problem with Thielen last week, all of his work came in the fourth quarter. And I just don't understand why, honestly. He barely got any work in week one. And then last week, it was all like fourth quarter junk time when they're playing from behind. So that bothers me a little bit with Thielen, but nobody's going to be on him, right? So it's going to be contrarian for sure. Nobody else is going to be playing him. I don't know that I'm going to get there. It's just, it's too good to play Justin Jefferson if I'm going to go there in Minnesota, but he's a great pivot. He's great leverage on Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook this week. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's move on to tight ends, I guess it is now, right? Let's go on to tight ends. Tight ends, look, there's one play for tight end. There's one play. And if you haven't figured it out already, there's a team that I love here in Kansas City. And this guy is the best one on the team, and that's Travis Kelce. 7,800 this week. Top price tight end. He's truly the only tight end I want to play. He's the only tight end I'm going to feel really good about clicking the button on. Period. Tight end is so bad. It's a dumpster fire. We talk about it every week on another damn fantasy podcast. What do you do at tight end? Andrews is great, but he's in a tougher matchup against Miami this week. Not against Miami. He played Miami last week. He's in a tougher matchup against New England this week. I don't really like him as much as I have in the past, especially on a 1 week basis. That's why we play DFS, right? It's all about this week. And Travis Kelce in a dome. I'm trying to click that button as often as I can this week. A couple other guys I'll still talk about. If you have anybody, let me know. But a couple guys I'll also talk. Zach Ertz is carrying the highest projected ownership right now. He's down at 5,200 on FanDuel. So super cheap punt play. Everybody is going there. Everybody is going there. That means I don't want to go there. Right? If I'm playing in a 112 person contest, I don't want to play a guy who's going to be rostered on 35% of those rosters. Not to say Kelsey can't be, right? But Kelsey has upside, has ceiling. Zach Ertz doesn't have that ceiling. There are a few guys down here, and I already saw one guy mention it. Anybody but Kyle Pitts. And I'm going to go opposite. I want to go at Kyle Pitts, 5,600, Tyler Higbee at 5,700. They're cheaper guys. They're projecting well, but their ownership is not being carried with the projections. Look, Kyle Pitts is always going to project well. But and through 2 weeks, he hasn't performed well. But the stats are still there. He's still running routes. He's still on the field. Mariota's just not throwing in the ball. And that has to change if Atlanta's going to win any games. And I talked earlier about Drake London as like a one-off piece. I don't mind playing Kyle Pitts as a one-off. I don't really want to bring anybody back here in Seattle. The running backs are splitting time. Penny got like 42, 43% of the snaps last week as the RB1. Homer and Kenneth Walker were involved. I don't want anybody here on Seattle, so I don't mind playing Pitts as a one-off, which I don't ever do at tight end, but I don't mind doing it this week just because I want to be on the right side of when Pitts does blow up. I want him in my lineup at that point in time. I don't want to play him next week after he goes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, right? I don't want to wait on that. I want to play him before he gets to that point, and he has that upside. We all know it. We might not want to play Kyle Pitts because the box score has shown us that he's not going to get the passes. But when he does, we all know he can go for 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. And then Tyler Higbee, I mentioned, I like the double stack here from Matt Stafford, Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee. Maybe bring it back with a Hollywood Brown. Maybe you just go a little mini stack, leverage off of Cooper Kupp, and just go a mini stack with Tyler Higbee, Hollywood Brown. Either way, I don't mind mixing and matching there to try to get Tyler Higbee on my teams where I need a tight end. You know, maybe Peace Out Pat here talks about Garrett Wilson not repeating that performance from last week. And we definitely don't want to chase week to week last week's performances. But maybe that means we go Elijah Moore, Michael Carter out of the backfield catching passes, right? Maybe Breece Hall gets a little bit more involved. I do think the Jets fall behind early, and I think they play from behind. Tyler Conklin was a decent play last week. Maybe you can get him there at tight end this week. Let me see here. I didn't look a lot at Conklin. I was going to see what he's projecting. Well, I'm scrolling for a while, so that means he's not going to be very, very much owned. So that's always a good play if you can get him low owned. Oh, yeah, sub 2% here. Projecting not bad, $5,200 at a 1.5 points per salary. It's not the double up that you like to see. But at tight end, I mean, nobody. Travis Kelce, 1.9. That's the closest to a double up that's projected right now for a points per dollar basis. So it's a dumpster fire at tight end. And if you want to go cheap, Hayden Hurst, Evan Ingram, maybe they're in Jacksonville. I don't really like Dawson Knox. Tyler Conklin, you know, he's 5,200. Isaiah Likely at 4,500. He's been playing more snaps. Seems thin. Seems very thin. But sometimes those thin plays is how you win a top tier tournament. I think if I'm playing some of those guys, it's going to be in larger field tournaments. I'm trying to condense my plays down a little bit here in these small field tournaments on FanDuel. Gerald Everett. I like, actually, I'm going to talk about Gerald Everett here in a moment when I get to some stacking options, because if you play him the right way, I never want to play Gerald. Gerald Everett's a guy, talked about playing Kyle Pitts in a one-off and Higbee in a mini stack. I'm not really playing a Gerald Everett without a Justin Herbert. But let's jump into these favorite stacks of the week. I'm going to give you 3 stacks. Sometimes they might be game stacks. Sometimes they might be double or triple stacks, whatever it might be. But I just want to give you teams and games that I'm looking forward to stack each and every week. This week, I've got one pretty chalky play and then a couple contrarian plays, but I want to hear from you. What teams are you looking forward to stacking this week? Lions and Vikings at 52.5 total. Bills and Dolphins 52 total. Chiefs and Colts 50.5 total. Rams and Cardinals 48.5. Are you stacking any of these teams particularly, or are you trying to get weird and going some of these lower totals, finding those teams to stack? Who are you stacking this week on FanDuel? Well, I'm going to give you a stack. You guys can go ahead and go to the bank now because you're going to be printing money if you play this stack. I'm telling you. In a dome against the Indianapolis Colts, 10 days rest. Give me Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Stack it up, friends. You'll thank me later. I'm all in on this stack this week. Seriously, though, they have the third highest team total on the slate. You like that. They play in a dome. You really like that, especially Mahomes in a dome. I've said it like 4 times tonight. Chiefs coming off that 10 days rest. I expect them to roll the Colts. And usually when the Chiefs roll teams, they don't go up 24-7 and then put the, then put the take the foot off the gas. They usually take the foot off the gas when it's like 24-17 and you're like, why are you not keeping the pedal down? They'll keep it going here. If you want to bring back on this stack, which I don't mind at all, I actually like Ashton Dulin. He goes 5 for 79 last week. Even if Michael Pittman plays this week, Dulin should be just as involved as he was last week, and he's only $5,600. So you're telling me I can play Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Juju Smith-Schuster, have a good, solid bring back from the Colts in Ashton Dulin at $5,600, and I'm only using 47% of my given salary. I haven't even played a cheap defense yet. Think about how much you can play elsewhere. Think about all the guys you can play up to. Chief stacks are cheap right now. They're still cheap even after week 1 when they go off and Mahomes throws for 5 touchdowns against the Cardinals. They're still cheap. It's still cheap. It's too cheap. Juju will have really good games this year. MVS will have long touchdown pass catches this year. It's going to happen if you hit the right one. This week, I'm rolling with it. See what happens here. But I love this double stack, and I love bringing it back with Dulin. And not because, look, I will live and die with the Chiefs, but this is truly a smash play, I believe, for Patrick Mahomes and company. My second favorite stack this week is Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. Bringing it back with Terry McLaurin. The stack, Hurts and A.J. Brown, that's going to be very popular. We talked about Jalen Hurts earlier. That's a very, very popular stack. But Terry McLaurin is not going to be popular at all. All the touchdowns are going to Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, not Terry McLaurin. His final box scores have not looked great, but he's going to be very low owned. And so if I'm going to play a very chalky Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, I don't want to bring it back with the chalky Curtis Samuel and Jahan Dotson. I want to get a little bit weird with a great wide receiver, a wide receiver we've seen put up massive numbers during weeks in the past. So give me Terry McLaurin on the other end of this Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown stack. Philly, Washington, a little division rivalry here. Neither team is really stopping anybody on defense. Washington is a mess, but they've done really well in comebacks. Like their defense is a mess, but they're doing really well in comeback games. So I think McLaurin has an opportunity to be that bring back this week. And A.J. Brown is a monster, and he is the guy Jalen Hurts is looking for each and every pass. And then the last one. This is the one that's a little bit weird, and it's mainly due to the injury of Justin Herbert. I love going to Justin Herbert this week. He's got the rib injury. He's questionable to play. He's going to be questionable on Sunday morning. So you got to check it. If he obviously doesn't play, we can't go to the Chargers. I don't even like Austin Eckler at that point. But if he's in, give me a Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett double stack. Okay. Nobody's going to go to Justin Herbert this week because of the rib injury and because it happened on prime time. Everybody saw that. But the dude come through and still scored a touchdown for the Chargers. Like, it's not like he can't play. Yeah, he was in pain, but he was still out there playing and scoring touchdowns. So I think he only plays if he's absolutely capable of playing. He's not going to play if he can't give his team the best chance of winning. If he gives his team the best chance of winning, I want him in my rosters at very, very low ownership. Nobody's going to play this man. Nobody. Something about hyping them up with all that Chief stuff in the background makes me want to fade them. I don't blame you, man. Look, it's definitely I'm definitely a through and through Chiefs fan, but this is also my money I'm talking about, man. I'm not going to bet on this team if I don't actually believe in it. And that's still my money. I'm not just going to throw money at the wall. So that's why I'm still willing to go to the Chiefs, and I'm willing to come on here to talk about it because I do believe the Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Juju stack will smash. And you know what? Let's start there. Let's ride. Yeah. Run it back is what it used to be. Not anymore. Let's build this. Let's stack it up here. Let's not stack it up. Let's build a lineup. I'm going to start with that Chiefs double stack that I just talked about, but then I want to hear from you all. What games do you want to see us kind of build a lineup around? I left us plenty of time this week. Last week I was rushing through these stacks these lineups, and I didn't like it. So I tried to hurry through the positions because this is the most fun part right here. This is the most fun part. Let's build a lineup. Start with that first game here in Kansas or in Indianapolis, the Chiefs. Okay, we're going Mahomes, Kelce, Juju, and I want to bring it back with Ashton Doolin. Where you at, Doolin? Look at this, man. How many targets he have last week? 7 targets. I knew he went 5 for 79. I didn't know how many targets he had. So here we are already, right? We're sitting at 3,100. I try to play my defense in the afternoon. So in a situation like this, one thing that's really standing out to me, this Green Bay Tampa Bay game, this game's probably going to be quite a bit, these two teams. I don't know. Tampa Bay is pretty expensive. They might not be too highly owned, but I don't know if I want to go that route. I kind of want to go right now here to Chargers. If I go Chargers defense and Austin Eckler, a little secondary stack. I mean, look at this. We're still, because we went the Chiefs stack at so cheap, we still are playing with 6,200 over here. And I just played one of my favorite, what I told you earlier, out of all these running backs up at the top, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Austin Eckler, McCaffrey, Cook, and Mixon. When I take ownership, projected points, and price, and I put all that together, out of these top 6, Austin Eckler is my favorite. He's going to be low owned, much lower than these 3 guys here are going to be, and he projects just as well as them, and he has plenty of upside. Plus, he hasn't found the end zone yet. Give me some of that positive regression here. Come on. Let's do that. All right, so here we go. Now we are sitting at a running back. I kind of like this as my 1 p.m., right? If I can find a pretty decent afternoon stack here, I don't think I can get to Kupp. And I don't want to play Higbee and Kelce, right? If James Conner is out, I don't mind going. I'm a Darrell Williams guy over Eno, at least for right now. I think Darrell Williams is probably the better play this week if I'm looking at the two of them, but it could be pretty thin. There. Henderson, Akers, man, I was all in on Henderson last week, and that kind of busted for me. Let's see, what does this do for us? Yeah, you can't get both of those guys. I didn't expect us to be able to do that. Greg Dortch, everybody's been on him the last couple of weeks. He's been okay. I'm not willing to go that cheap, but I think what I am willing to do is put a guy like Cooper Kupp in my flex. He's the most expensive player on the slate. Nope, can't do that. All right, I'm getting off that game. We talked about Drake London earlier, so I'm going to go London as a one-off here and put him in my flex. And so now I've got a nice 3 guys in the afternoon that I can pivot with and late swap with. Where should we go here? You guys got any suggestions? Let me hear in the chat. I've got a running back, wide receiver, mini stack, averaging 6,200. Running back, wide receiver, mini stack, averaging 6,200. I think I know where I want to go. You guys got any ideas? I talked about this player earlier, so let's just do it. Ramondre Stevenson. I'll bring it back with Rashad Bateman. I don't mind that. Just another early game. This is my weird play, right? If he smashes, I can just ride it out with Austin Eckler, Drake London, and the Chargers. Drake London will probably be low rostered anyways. If this doesn't hit, I've only got 3 players I can swap out, but I can still get pretty weird. So I don't mind that. You put in Patrick Mahomes double stack, you get a lot of salary left. Austin Eckler, 8,700. I'm putting in Rashad Bateman at 6,800. I go pay way up for the Chargers at 4,500. This is a dead zone for defenses. If you play Fanduel quite a bit, you know sometimes people will try to get up here for the most expensive ones. Most of the time, we're down here, dumpster diving in this 35 to 3,000 range. So everybody in between this 4 to 4,500, this range right here, nobody's playing this range. So if I can get to a Chargers defense with the secondary stack of Austin Eckler, I like that a lot. As a Patriots fan, I don't like Rashad Bateman this week, but he'll probably go nuts. Who knows? It's probably a thin mini stack. I'm not like all on this mini stack. I do like Ramondre Stevenson. Bateman and Andrews have both just looked pretty good so far. So if I am going to mini stack that game, that's what I'd want. The other thing I can do is get off of Stevenson and get off of London and just go a mini stack here, right? I go Garrett Wilson. Can I get the T? Can't get the T. I could go Elijah Moore, right? We talked a little bit Elijah Moore. He's the other guy there in New York. To be down at 5,500 is quite a bit. I could go Elijah Moore, T. Higgins. And now I have another afternoon or another morning game. I guess it's not really morning, but the first slate of games. Now, the problem is, I guess I'm only leaving myself Austin Eckler, so maybe I don't like that as much anymore thinking through it because I don't want just one option to late swap with. But you get the gist. You really have a lot of salary here if you go Mahomes. All right, who do you want me to stack up next? Somebody throw it in the chat. It can be a mini stack. Where do you want me to start my next lineup at? Somebody throw it in the chat here. We're going to work through this together. We are going to work through this together. While we're waiting here, go ahead and hit that like button. Subscribe to the channel. I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of the season. So go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thank you all for being here. Let's build another lineup. We talked about this Philadelphia game. Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown bringing back Terry McLaurin. Look at this, guys. Come on. Curtis Samuel, Jahan Dotson this close to Terry. McLaurin's way better. He's the way better wide receiver. He just hasn't found the end zone. Positive regression. It's coming. Positive regression. It is coming. Again, I like playing my defense. I also like putting them in early. I'm not a big Cordero Patterson guy, but if I'm going to go ahead and if I'm going to try to play the Falcons defense just as something fun and different in the afternoon, I want a secondary stack here. So I'll go Patterson with the Falcons defense just getting weird. This Green Bay Tampa Bay game, you could definitely go there. That's a little bit more expensive. I don't love the Rams. Look at 4,200. I'm definitely not playing the Cardinals. So we'll just get over that right now. But I like playing my defenses here in the afternoon. It gives me a little bit more flexibility for late swap. So we got a Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. Bring back little Cordero Patterson, Atlanta Falcons defense secondary correlation. Earlier I mentioned, I really want to just play Kelsey and Kelsey only at tight end. But if I were to play another tight end, it would be a Tyler Higbee. And I would be stacking him up with Hollywood Brown. I just like this little mini stack. I think it gives me a little bit of flexibility in the afternoon. It's not super expensive, and it's in a high total game. So I'll go with that here. That leaves me with a running back and a flex, which actually I would just put Marquise Brown in the flex. Why do I put him in the flex? Because he's in the afternoon. I want that late swap equity. I want to be able to do something here. If Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin don't smash. So I also want to have I need to find another running back, wide receiver. Mini stack here. I talked earlier about Alvin Kamara. So I could go Kamara and then I could bring it back. Robbie Anderson. I was really hoping I could get to DJ Moore. It looks like I'm $400 short. I could also just one-off this in the morning, right? Do a one-off Alvin Kamara. Now I need a $6,000 wide receiver. Gabe Davis isn't near that. Gabe Davis doesn't play. You could easily go Isaiah McKenzie. We're just working through it here. What makes sense in the build? What makes sense in the build? As you guys notice, I try to keep everything a stack. Right? Everything's either stack, a game stack, a mini stack. A little correlation with the secondary. I like to correlate my running backs and my defense together when possible. I don't have to play Cordero. I could just play the Atlanta defense and call it good. Nothing wrong with that. I could, go right back. I could go with Joe Mixon. He's going to be highly rostered, but what about a Joe Mixon, Garrett Wilson, right? Now it leaves me 6,300 for a running back. I can go here in the afternoon, find maybe is AJ Dillon this cheap? Of course not. Of course not. He used to be. Arizona's got some cheap plays though. Maybe I go Darrell Williams. I don't care about leaving salary on the table because more often than not, I'm late swapping anyway. So again, Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, Terry McLaurin. It's a little bit more difficult because you're almost spending the same amount of salary with those three players as you are with the four players from the Chiefs stack. So just keep that in mind. It does make things a little bit more difficult to find those stacks. And let's do this Herbert stack one time here. Before we get out of here, let's do the Herbert stack. I want to build that lineup for you all. And if you have one that you want to see, throw it in the chat because I will definitely take a look. Oh, I'm on the wrong game. Sorry. I got to figure out how to make this bigger for you all. Oh, well. It is what it is. Herbert's got the hurt ribs. Trevor, why are you playing him? Because it's contrarian. Nobody else is going to play him. Let's go with him, We all know what he can do. I'm definitely bringing Christian Kirk back if I'm going to go this route. Love Christian Kirk. Now they're expensive. Look at this. 6,300. I guess it's probably not too expensive comparative to the Chiefs stack. So maybe it's not that bad. If I go this route, I kind of want to go. Let's just throw in a defense here in the morning, a contrarian play, right? I talked about throwing in that double stack. Maybe you don't like the double stack. So go Clyde in the Chiefs defense. Nothing wrong with that. Get a little bit different. Great leverage on Patrick Mahomes. Great leverage on those cheap pass catchers by going Clyde in that defense. Look, the defense took one to the house last week. That's obviously not going to happen every week. But they got some playmakers on this young defense, and we've seen Clyde find the end zone multiple times already this season. So he's definitely, he's up to 7,300, which is probably one of the more expensive we've seen him in a quite some time. I'd really like to find a way to play a Cooper Kupp. So let's see if we can find a way to put Cooper Kupp in our flex. He's just so darn expensive. It really makes it hard to go anywhere else. But let's put him there. Let's find a cheap 1 p.m. play. What is a very cheap 1 p.m. play that we could run out here? 5,300 that we're looking at. We might not be able to stack this one. What's Sanders at? 68? Oof. A cheap. Oh, I like DJ Chark. What's Chark at? 55? Dang. That's even more expensive than I wanted it to be. Well, that's rough. We might not be able to find a really good cheap one here. Let me look at some models. Let's find a cheap running back. How about that, guys? Who's down here that looks really good projection-wise? Jerick McKinnon, but I already got Clyde, so we don't want to go that route. Nyheim Hines on the back end of Clyde. Rex Burkhead against Chicago? Man, how nasty would that be? How nasty. Rex Burkhead. Sexy. Rexy, bring it back with St. Brown. It's the wrong St. Brown. It's not the St. Brown we want. Oh, man. That's gross. Please don't play that. Do not play this. I hate every bit of it. It's so gross. Yeah. I cannot give you permission to play this one. But it does fit here. It does give us an opportunity to play this, go this route. Another one stood out to me just now, actually. Nope. I want to go Baltimore, Miami. And there's a play here that I don't know why I went to Baltimore, New England. Man, Baltimore, Miami played last week. Why do I keep going there? No, this is what I want. Oh, McKenzie's 55. That's what I was hoping McKenzie wasn't. I thought McKenzie might have been cheaper. I could go. Can't go Mike Gesicki. I can't play 2 tight ends, so I can't go that way. I mean, James Cook actually didn't do bad last week. He did get a little run. That's super thin. So, anyways, you see how I would probably have to come off a Clyde on this one or off a Cooper Kupp. I just really want a Cooper Kupp one, man. He's so darn good. He's so good. I just want a Cooper Kupp lineup. Who wouldn't want that? So, but you see how you kind of could build this one out. I would probably have to come off a Cooper Kupp. I don't mind maybe going into like a Allen Robinson. Maybe you put the chalk Fournette in here, right? He's going to be pretty chalky. You just put him in, plug him in now, and see what happens with Clyde. You can easily bring this Christian Kirk into the flex. Go to Christian Kirk. Put him there in the flex. Now you got a little wide receiver mini stack. Now maybe it's a little easier to find than that RB wide receiver stack we were talking about earlier. It's still 6,600. Can't go to Chiefs. Man, what about Chris Olave? 5,500. I don't mind that at all. You get a little Chris Olave, DJ Moore mini stack. Chris Olave's, look at this. I mean, this is not usually the way I want to look at it, but look at this. 13 targets, he doesn't cash in for a lot, but 13 targets, they're earning the targets, guys. So that's pretty dang solid there. Not a bad play. I don't mind this at all, actually. I want Christian, I want a Cooper Cup, but I don't get Cooper Cup. I put in a little mini stack here with Olave, DJ Moore. Man, maybe. Don't really love this game environment too much. Is there anything in Philly and Washington that actually makes sense in this environment? Because it's a way better environment. Devontae Smith. Can I go Smith and McLaurin? You definitely damn sure are right. Let's go. I would like this way better. So this is what you can do. This is what you should be doing over the next day. Just finding what fits and what makes sense. Look at your projections. Look at your rostership projections. What makes sense when you're building one of these lineups? Okay, to me, this lineup makes a lot of sense. I'm already contrarian with Justin Herbert. Nobody's playing this guy. If I'm going to play him in a 112-person contest, why not, right? So I got a Justin Herbert, Mike Williams, Gerald Everett, and I bring back Christian Kirk. So I want leverage into the 1 p.m. games now. Okay, I'll take Clyde in the Chiefs defense. Nobody's playing that. Nobody's playing Clyde in the Chiefs defense. I mean, if they are, it's not going to be that much. Let me zoom out so you can see the whole thing at once. It's not perfect, but you can. So where else? Okay, now I can put chalk because I've got a contrarian play with Clyde and the Chiefs and then Terry McLaurin and Devontae Smith all at 12 p.m. So I can put chalky Leonard Fournette in there. And if my 12 p.m. guys do well, I'm weird enough in the afternoon. Plus I got a chalk Fournette. So it makes a lot of sense here to me anyways. I like this build quite a bit. And it's just something that you need to work through. Look at your projections. I'm not 100% sure where Devontae Smith and Terry McLaurin are projecting. But I know I like Terry and a bring back with A.J. Brown, so maybe I don't mind him with the mini stack with Devontae Smith as well, right? Any value with Baker Mayfield and DJ Moore? I just built that. Or I didn't build the Baker Mayfield, but I just put DJ Moore in a lineup. I don't know, man. This New Orleans Carolina game feels pretty gross to me. Not necessarily one that I'm going to start chasing right now. New Orleans defense is it's pretty darn good, and Baker Mayfield is hashtag not good. So I'm not going that route at all. I think you're just getting too cute at that point in time. So don't do that. Don't get cute. I would stay away from Baker Mayfield. If you want to play a mini stack with DJ Moore, Chris Olave, we kind of put it in here earlier. It did not feel great to me, so I'm not necessarily going to recommend that. All right, y'all. I got to get out of here. Man, this was a lot of fun. We're going to be here every Friday night. Every Friday night at 1 p.m. or 8:15 p.m. 1 p.m. Goodness. Said too many 1 p.m. game, 12 p.m. games. Talked about the time of the games too much tonight. We'll be here every Friday night, 8:15 Central. Thank you all for joining me again. Hit the like button if you're in here. I saw the concurrent viewership was really getting up there. I appreciate that. Thanks for jumping in the chat. It's so much fun when we can just interact, go back and forth, talk about our plays. Who are you liking? We are all learning together, and we're all getting better together. I mean, truly we are. I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to know what plays you're on this week because we can work through that, check some projections here and there, and just get better. Hit the subscribe button if you would. We're on our way to 100 subscribers this NFL season. Check out my season-long podcast with Dan, another damn fantasy podcast. We are presented by Stadium Rant and StadiumRant.com. You can find us on Apple or Spotify podcasts. We're talking season long in that podcast. We try to drop it every Thursday morning. Get you ready for the next week. Go check out my co-host Dan and I on another damn fantasy podcast. Follow me on Facebook, The Rumbles of Red. Follow me on Twitter at TrevorS_FF. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for the love in the chat. I appreciate it. Good luck in week 3, and may money be in your favor.